Here we go again. It's once again the Shanks issue that I think a lot of folks are having a hard time comprehending even now. So the anime has gone to the Kid Pack Watch, where essentially Shanks just one-shots Kid. Shanks one-shots Kid. Killer gets his Punisher blades destroyed by Shanks' sheer hockey. Killer gets also knocked out. Kid gets sent packed up, and then we see him literally have a hallucination on some JJK activity as if he were about to pass away, and then the guy is literally dying on his back. All that before Dory and Brogy do what they do, the Hakoku, and they wipe out the entire Kid pirate. Obviously, a big deal here because a huge deal for the story, because what Oda did here is that he removed effectively someone that's very close to finding the One Piece treasure. He removed him from the game. He is not in the contest now of being one of the people to find the One Piece treasure, and that's a huge deal. However, what we're talking about here is obviously Shanks' power. Shanks, what he did in this chapter, in this episode, was outstanding. Now there's questions as to how powerful Shanks is and who could potentially survive a divine departure. Now, on Twitter, GOAW, he said, and I quote, "Could Shanks one-shot Zoro?" End quote. And this, of course, spurred a lot of debate. I myself had my own response. And if you don't know, now you know, Twitter has an extreme Zoro and Mihawk bias. Extreme. And because of that, there's a lot of obfuscation. There's a lot of, well, Zoro would have seen it coming and he would have blocked it, unlike Kid who couldn't block it. And you'll see things like that. Even though, in reality, what is the question here? If Zoro were to stand there, unguarded, like Kid was, and take a divine departure with his bare body, could he get one-shotted by Shanks? It's not in the same vein as the Big Mom and Kaido combo move, where Zoro was actively blocking, though still taking damage while he was blocking. Could Zoro get one shot with his bare body with a single swing from Shanks? And my answer is yes. It's not because Zoro is weak, no. It's because Shanks is that strong. There's a reason why all the top tier dudes that we saw in Marineford backed down when Shanks pulled up. Even someone like Kaido could not arrive at Marineford because of an altercation between himself, the Beast Pirates, and the Red Hair Pirates. Shanks is him. There's a reason why Ichiro Oda, among all of the One Piece characters in the series, he wanks off Shanks the most. But going through the system here of, let's say, comparing Eustace Captain Kidd to Zoro, in terms of endurance, Kid has so many durability and endurance feats in Wano country that in terms of endurance, make him extremely impressive. But in turn, it makes Shanks' event even more impressive because what Oda's doing here, I'll argue, is that he's indicating to us, the readers and the watcher, that Shanks' one move, Shanks' divine departure that Kid took, is equal to all of the damage, beyond all the damage that Kid took of the entirety of the Onigashima raid. Correct. I'm gonna say it again. All of the damage that Kid took cumulatively, all of it combined, is inferior to the divine departure of Shanks. Why is that? Because the divine departure of Shanks brought Kid from 100 HP to 1 HP, if not 0. He was literally on the verge of death. What other attacks had Kid on the verge of death? Think! In fact, you know what? Let's go through the key attacks that Kid took throughout the entirety of the Onigashima raid, and then we'll double back to the divine departure. So in chapter 981, he did take the slash attack from Apu. Later on in the arc, in chapter 1001, him, Luffy, and Law do that meme play where they take the Big Mom Heavily bonbons right to the face. After that, in chapter 1002, we do see Kid eat the God of Lightning Tenjin homie lightning bolt right to the face. And the bolts continue to rain down, implying that Kid did take several bolts to the body. After that, in chapter 103, We do see Kid and Killer get swept up by Kaido's Dragon Tornado, though Kid is in his Punk Ron form, which does, I would say, mitigate some of the damage that Kid takes during the situation, and that'd be a key thing that we see from Kid for another attack later on. But before that attack, in chapter 1009, we do see Kid take a straight punch from Big Mom on the rooftop before she gets punted off the rooftop. And it's implied that in this gap that we don't see the roof piece, it's implied that Kid is taking more damage from Big Mom and more damage from Kaido. After that, Big Mom returns with a new homie, Hera, and then she devastates with this lightning Kamehameha wave, the full Gora, and then Kid and Killer are caught up in that. Then in chapter 1022, we find that Kid is getting wounds, stab wounds, slash wounds, all that stuff from Killer via Hawkins. Now, we don't know how much damage he takes exactly, but it's implied that it was a lot of damage until Killer actually figures out to remove Hawkins' left arm, because Kid has no left arm, and then he takes out Hawkins. But in that same chapter, 1029, we do see Big Mom do a somersault. At her age, at her size, very impressive, all woman. And she devastates Kid with the Mama Raid. Keep in mind, these are moves that even someone like Jinbei couldn't block back in Whole Cake Island, where a famished Big Mom could still send someone like him packing through his hockey hardened guard. And Kid is taking much stronger version of those moves and can still fight. And in the next chapter, 1030, when Kid is feeling lighter because the Hawking stuff is done, we do see Kid getting swooped away by an Ikoku Sovereignty, the very same move that Luffy actively dodges. However, we do see Punk Ryan. So Punk Ryan, that metal construction, it does mitigate a lot of the damage that Kid would take from frontal assaults, because the metal, it's usually scrap, and it does act like a cushion from oncoming attacks. And then after Big Mom gigantifies, after she takes the awakened attacks from Law and Kid, we do see both Law and Kid on the ground, having gone through the ringer, getting destroyed by gigantified Big Mom in chapter 1038, imply that they took massive damage. They're on the ground, not moving, but they do come back for a final hurrah against Big Mom, and ultimately they do send Big Mom down the hole into the magma chamber. Now, it is insinuated in episode 1066 that Kid took a metric ton of damage from the 3,000 Leagues of Mother Misery. However, in the chapter version of that, 1039, Kid does dodge a single swipe from the 3,000 Leagues. Though after he dodges it in the manga version of it, we do see Misery continuously several repeated blows in the area where Kid was dodging with more attacks. So maybe that could be insinuating that he is taking damage somewhat from Misery, but it's not clear in the manga. All that to say that Kid does have a list, a long list of endurance feats that we see throughout the entirety of Wano Country. That is important because Kid is also stronger after the entire arc. That's how things work. Where even Shanks himself says, do not underestimate the growth rate of the youngsters. Where Kid has gotten stronger from his Wano Country Onigashima version to now. We even see that with Trafalgar Law, where Law against Blackbeard was able to match Blackbeard's Quake punches, for God's sakes. So the idea, ultimately saying, is that Kid took all of this damage, and at no point in time was he in a almost dying state. It's only because of Shanks' divine departure do we see Kid in an almost dying state. And just to be clear here, I'm not talking about Kid on the ground unconscious, but he's gonna get back up soon of his own will. No. I'm talking about something similar to Luffy before he went to Gear 5, where he's on the ground, there's damn near no hope for recovery because he is literally on the verge of death. That is extraordinary. And this is something I was telling Middle Way on Twitter. We had a back and forth on Twitter where I was basically telling him the idea of looking at one individual feat is misguided, because you have to look at the entire thing. No single attack or all the attacks that Kid took on Wano Country were on the precipice of killing Kid. It was only the single divine departure that was on the verge of killing Kid. HP wise, Onigashima Raid, Kid goes steadily from 100 to 80 to 70, 60, 50, 40, and then let's say ends somewhere around the 15, some of that sort. Against Shanks, he goes from 100 to 1 because he's almost dying. Is he actually dead? We'll have to wait and see. But I would say probably not, by some crazy grace of God thing. So now how do we take what Shanks did and then equate that to certain Wano Country attacks? Think of it like this. What attacks that we saw in Wano Country could almost kill Kid outright? Literally would have brought Kid from 100 to 1 HP. And mind you, again, this is a stronger version of Kid that we see in the waters of Elbaf. But I would say that among the attacks that we've seen in Wano Country, what could either kill Kid or damn near kill Kid would be obviously the Conquest of the Sea, the Ocean Sovereignty, the combo move by Kaido and Big Mom. That's the first one. The second one, I would argue, would be the Death Destroyer Thunder Bagua, the one we see in episode 1074 by Kaido. The reason why is because the Death Destroyer Thunder Bagua actually broke through Luffy's Haki Hardened guard when he was in Gear 5. So Luffy has physically a better body in Gear 5 compared to base Luffy, 1. 2 is that he had to use Armored Haki, potentially even Conqueror's Haki, to try and block the attack of the Death Destroyer Thunder Bagua. But 3, it even broke through that and sent Luffy packing into the air. So if you take that attack unguarded, right to the chest, bare body, I think that could bring Kid from 100 to 1 or 2 or 5 HP. Absolutely. So then by default, the third attack that could almost kill Kid or kill Kid would be the Flame Bagua, the Flame Drum Dragon Flame Bagua of Kaido, the Rising Flame Bagua Dragon move that he used to compete with, of course, the fourth and final move, I would say, the Bajrang Gun. Yeah, it's those 4 moves. Those 4 moves, I think, could kill a weaker version, even I'll say now probably. They could either bring Kid to somewhere around 5 HP to even kill him outright. Shanks' move is in that category, I would argue. And I don't think Zoro can take the Death Destroyer Thunder Bagua bare body right to the chest, unguarded, not actively guarding and blocking, but taking that right to the chest unguarded when someone with a physically tougher body, extremely more so than Zoro, Monkey D. Luffy in Gear 5, needed to block for that attack and still got sent packing into the air and was bloodied by that move, let alone the Flame Drum Dragon or the Bajrang Gun. And I would say it's not just Zoro too, but I would say it's every single Straw Hat officer would get one-shotted by a Shanks Divine Departure. The one we see used against Kid. You could argue an enraged, a pissed off Shanks Divine Departure. So that would be Robin, that would be Brook, Frankie, of course those guys, Jinbei, even Sanji. Sanji, who has more defensive acumen than Zoro does. Even he would also get one-shotted by the Divine Departure of Shanks. Would he be like near death? I don't think so, but he would still get ultimately packed up. The idea is that Shanks' move is that nasty because he brought someone like Kid, who it is what it is. Even though as a character, I'd argue that Oda did drop the ball with him entirely. The fact of the matter is that in terms of power, Kid is up there. He should be, in terms of the themes alone, he is relative to Law, and he does have the endurance feats to back up his claim to fame, among other things. And yet, from 100 to 1, it's not the fault of Kid or any of the officers of the Strat crew. It's just Shanks. It's just Shanks. Luffy wouldn't get one-shotted because Luffy has, in terms of physique, he has a better body than all these guys. But Luffy's taking a lot of damage. A lot of damage from an enraged Divine Departure of Shanks. Absolutely. And honestly, it makes sense. Because I would argue in so many ways, in terms of power, so many characters in the story have to try and catch up to Shanks, and ultimately, come like the end of the story, they'll be like stronger than Shanks. Mainly just Luffy, potentially Blackbeard. But that's what it is right now. Shanks is him. He is the one. He's the one. But that's my take on this topic at hand. Let me know your stance on this topic. If you enjoy your boys' video content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on that bell to join the notification squad. Make sure to turn on notifications on your phone app for all of your subscriptions. So until the next video, I'm gonna catch you guys and gals on the flip side.